Former presidential candidate, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont joins me. Nice to have you here in New York City.
Great to be with you.
It's been interesting to watch the reaction to this deal that was cut yesterday. And I want to play you something that Congressman Luis Gutierrez, who you served with in the House, said about the deal and get your reaction to it. Because a lot of people were saying, well, this is great, this is great. This is what he had to say. Take a listen.
The Democratic caucus is not in sync with making this agreement with the President of the United States of America. I've spoken to dozens of members of the Democratic caucus. The Democratic Party has to stand for something. When the CEO of Microsoft says you got to come through him to get to the Dreamers, and he's to the left of the Democratic Party, it's a sad day for the Democratic Party in this nation.
What do you think of that?
What I think about is that what Trump did in removing 800,000 great young people from DACA protection is one of the ugliest things that any president in the modern history of this country has ever done. And I think we got to be smart and we got to win that fight. And the key here is being smart. And that means attaching DACA legislation to reverse what Trump did to legislation that the Republicans need to have passed.
Right. So Congressman Gutierrez's point, right, and this is really a tactical dispute. I don't think there's any goal difference here across the Democratic caucus, which wants to see these protections put into law, right, is that play hardball now when they, when you have this, as opposed to this 3-month extension. There's no guarantee you're going to be able to attach it. Are you confident this is the right move?
Well, what we need to do, I mean, it's one thing to talk fervently about the issues, but you know what, in the Senate? Right. We need 60 votes.
Right.
Okay? And if Luis can get us those 12 Republican votes tomorrow, I think we're ready to move. Dick Durbin is working night and day on this. I think we have 4 or 5 Republican votes right now. I think we stand an excellent chance.
I see.
To get the votes we need. The goal is to win this thing.
Right. Well, that's an interesting bit of insight, because sometimes it's very hard to track these deals, right? I remember there were deals that Boehner and Obama cut a few times where everyone was mad and you couldn't, in the White House, would say, no, you don't understand, we won.
But let me just say this, and I think I speak for every member of the Democratic caucus in the Senate, and I think the House as well. What Trump did is unspeakable. And we have to protect these young people, and we won't.
Okay, so here's the question. I remember talking to you right in the beginning of this administration, and there was this question about how are Democrats going to deal with this guy. And there are certain things where there's a kind of Venn diagram policy overlap, renegotiating NAFTA or killing TPP, right? Some stuff on infrastructure. And then there's obviously places where there's opposition. The path he's gone down, from a policy perspective, has been a very Paul Ryan Republican Party path.
I would say it was a Koch brothers path. Tax breaks for billionaires, denying the reality of climate change, trying to destroy public health care in America, throwing 32 million people off of health insurance, extreme right-wing agenda.
Okay, so then this thing happened yesterday that has people sort of scratching their heads. Chuck Schumer has another meeting today with the president, and there's a sort of question of, like, is there some deals to work out here? And yet at the same time, you got to be thinking to yourself, the world is littered with people on the wrong side of Donald Trump deals. Right? Like, how are you thinking? Is this someone that the Democrats can do business with, is my question.
I think you look at issue by issue. You say to Donald Trump, what you did with regard to DACA is unacceptable. Let's work together to reverse that. And if you're prepared to do that, if you are prepared to put $1 trillion into infrastructure without privatizing it, if you are prepared to do what you said during the campaign, is take on the drug companies and lower the outrageously high cost of prescription drugs, if you want to work with us on those issues, let's go forward together.
I saw news, and I almost can't believe this is happening, but I saw news of one last-ditch attempt at Obamacare repeal. So you've got this ticking clock, right, which is the 50-vote majority of the Republicans. It expires in a few weeks. Am I right about that?
That's correct.
This procedure is maddening to all of us that follow this. We don't understand it. But it's going to expire. They're going to take one more run at it. Are you worried about this? Is this a serious thing that's happening in the Senate right now?
No, I don't think they have the time to get their act together. I don't believe that is going to happen. In fact, Lamar Alexander, the chairman of the Health, Education, and Labor Committee, has been holding a series of hearings on some aspects of health care, trying to work in a bipartisan way.
All right, I want to ask you about, and I've read your responses to this portion of Hillary Clinton's book. This is going to happen. You're going to get asked about this.
I'm shocked that you're interested in
well,
this.
Well, no, but here's a portion that I thought got to something that's sort of interestingly deep and substantive and continues in the party today. And this is about the sort of, let's call it the frontier of the possible. The question of what a presidential candidate is selling their voters and what goals they're setting in this sort of trade-off between reality, right? So she says, no matter how bold and progressive my policy proposals were, Bernie would come out with something even bigger, loftier, and leftier, regardless of whether it was realistic or not. And then Jake Sullivan has this analogy to, there's something about Mary, where a deranged hitchhiker says he's come up with a brilliant plan. Instead of famous 8-minute abs exercise routine, he's going to market 7-minute abs. It's the same, just quicker.
I.e., Bernie Sanders just stole all of Hillary Clinton's ideas. Does anybody really believe that? The truth is, and the real story is, that the ideas that we brought forth during that campaign, which was so crazy and so radical, have increasingly become mainstream. I talked about a $15 an hour minimum wage.
Right.
Hillary did not. You know what? We got 31 co-sponsors on legislation for $15 an hour minimum wage. Talked about $1 trillion infrastructure. We talked about making health care a right of all people through Medicare for all. Medicare for all is becoming mainstream within the Democratic Party. So making public colleges and universities tuition free. Talk to the governor of the state of New York. He's pretty proud of his accomplishment. So what I'm saying here, Chris, is many of the ideas that we talked about, that Secretary Clinton and others said, oh, those are too far out. They are the ideas that are sweeping America, that most Americans now support.
All right, so one more follow-up on this, which is this. One of the things we saw happen with Republicans is they told their voters they could do all these things that they turned out they couldn't really do. This happened all the time it happened during the shutdown. When they said we could repeal Obamacare even if we don't have the presidency. They couldn't do that, right? We saw what happened when their promises on the ACA ran into reality, and it was a disaster, right? I guess the question is there some line for you when you think about what candidates in the Democratic Party are pushing, or even politicians, not presidential candidates, where you feel like there's a responsibility to give a projection of what is possible?
That's right. But you heard me, because I was on your show a dozen times. What did I always talk about? I always talked about a political revolution, right? I always talked about bringing millions of people into the political process to transform politics in America. You never heard me say, hey, elect me, I'm going to do it all. We are right now on Wednesday going to introduce Medicare for All single-payer program. Let me be very clear. That will not be passed if Trump is president and Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell run the United States Congress. The only way we will take on the drug companies and the insurance companies and do what every other major country on earth is doing is through a political revolution where people stand up and fight back. So everything that I said, I brought forth ideas that I thought and believe are reasonable ideas, not radical ideas. They exist in many parts of the country. You talk about making public colleges and universities tuition free. Duh, it exists in Germany. It exists in Scandinavia. But what I have said is millions of people got to jump into the political process, stand up and fight back. And we're beginning to see some of that as well.
All right, Senator Bernie Sanders, good to have you here in person.
Good to be with you, Chris.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.